Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to round 2, which is a part 2 of our hexagonal playthrough. So today we shall be attempting to complete milestone number 2. Let's have a quick look. So these are the shapes that they're asking from us. Let's just start off with this top left one here. For those who haven't played before, we have a couple of controls here. This splits the parts, so you can get a better look at what each individual segment looks like. And then we've got a layer view as well that splits it vertically. So we've just got a one red triangle on top of half a shape with 2 grey and 1 red. Excellent. Good to know. Let's dive in. I think we're still making these ones, so we can repurpose that and just stack that on too. Let's see. Looks like we can do that one if we have any of those going too. That looks like we've completed the blue triangle here, so we'll just unlock that and look at our upgrades. Now, a lot of these are helpful, not so much that, later on it would be. Let's see, but what I'd really like is this swapper. That can be very handy and reduce a lot of your footprint, like the size of your factories. So I might just hold off on upgrading other things until I've got that under my belt. So, first things first, got ourselves this red little triangle here, and we're only using one of the belts, so we can use another belt to make that second shape underneath here. We'll go ahead and do that and get back to you guys in just a second. So here's just the first part of the build here. I figured out we have to rotate it just the once to get the shape that we want here. So this shape here, that's what we're after. We just need it to be rotated the right way, and then we put the red triangle on top. This other one we don't need for that milestone. However, it does look like we need it for the pinned task, which can be found up here. If I scroll back up, we've got the hex cycling right here. So we can actually chuck both of those, or sorry, should I say use both of those, but we'll have to separate them first. So let me do that. Okay, so we've got our two outputs combined now. Got that shape, which will go straight into the hole here. And you've got this other shape here, which will need to be underneath this red one. Now, we're only going to have one full belt of each of these, and we have 4 3/4 full belts of these red ones. So I'm going to get rid of most of those so I can use these other inputs here. Alrighty, so what I've done here is, in order to keep the flow going, so this last one and this one still keep sorting through our shapes, I've just gone ahead and put trash items here, and then that's just going to be dumping a lot of these red triangles here so it doesn't get backed up. And for this third and fourth one, because that's only a 3/4 belt, I've added half of this 3/4 belt into this belt to make it full, so that will be at the same ratio for this belt here. And I've also discovered that this other half that I thought was this shape is not quite. So you see, if I rotate it like this, and then we have a look at this shape here, ooh, that's gone missing. It's gone missing because that's backed up. Hold on one second, let me show you guys. This one here, the rotation, the position of the green triangle is wrong. So it really should be on the bottom here. So it's not actually the same shape, although it may look like it at a glance. You see again, I'll rotate it. And this grey one should be up here, not the same. So it is possible to do a lot of rearranging, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to go ahead and just trash it for now. And oop, got rid of the wrong one. Just so I can use the other half of that shape. Okay. Now herein lies another problem. If I'm going to be using these shapes to stack on top of this one, I'm going to need to have them all in the same orientation. Well, I suppose I don't need that to be the case, but that is going to throttle our output, because half the time we'll be inputting the wrong shape, because that will land somewhere else on this shape here. So let me go ahead and fix that on these two here. So I've just split them up here. So 2/3 are in the right orientation. And that's going to work well with the shape that we have already. Although it's not in the same orientation. If I... where are we? Put it like that. You see that looks the same as this. And then if we go over here, that triangle is also in the right spot. So we can either rotate or just dump these, recombine it, and then we'll be able to simply stack it and throw it in. So let's get cracking. So there we have it. That was a pretty simple fix. We just needed to add one extra rotator at the end of that cutting point here, and that simply shifts it all into the same position here, and we've fixed our problem. Now there's a couple of shortcuts I have been using that I haven't voiced yet, so I'll just go over that. When we're building a belt here, if I just press tab, that's going to jump to the next option here. So that first tab is going to place a launcher for us, and the second tab is going to place the receiver. That's really helpful for going through different variations of each of the tools very quickly. Another really important and helpful tip is that when you're placing belts, if you press C, it's going to anchor that belt in that square that you pressed C in. So if you can press it multiple times, that's going to allow you to snake without having to continue to place more and more belts. There we go. And obviously I've put it over itself, so it's not going to work, but there you have that function there. Now, back to stacking. Let's have a quick look. We need 6 of these to make full use of one full belt, and we have one full belt of each of these. And it has 2 inputs, so it's not like we need 12. We just need one full belt. And we'll be good. We shall be good. So let's do that. So here we have the stackers lined up and ready to jump into the portal there. So the shape on the bottom is this bigger one here. So that's an easy route, like so. And that's just going to wait for something to be placed on top. Now, I'll show you guys the second level. This gets a little bit trippy if you haven't played this before. So I've got the belt tool selected, as you can see, and then I'm going to press E. And that's going to jump up to another level. We now have 2. Let's jump back down and just to see it in motion. We've got these 2 cool animated paddles throwing these little shapes up onto the second level. And then I'm just using Q and E to toggle between the different levels here. You see I'm making our first shape. Now I obviously want to connect the rest of these up, so let's go ahead and do that and check that this is right. You see the little green tick here? Perfect. and they all look like the same. Fantastic. Okay, so that's our first shape of our milestone 2 underway. Now we're only using a small portion of what's available, but it's going to do the trick. It'll get there in the end. We can leave that running for a little while we work on some of the other milestone shapes. And once we've got everything squared away, whichever one is lacking in numbers, we can come back and expand on that. There's no real point in doing a massive upscale here if we then still have to wait a long time for these other ones to come through. So, number 2, we have the 2 blue triangles and 1 grey one. Let's have a look at what we're already building. 1 single blue triangle and an improperly cut blue one. So we should be able to alter this slightly and be able to get this shape fairly easily. So let's go ahead and do that. What happens if we simply put 1 rotation in? How is that going to cut it now? Now, does that shape look right? It does. There we go. So half of those shapes are now going to be accurate. And if we just do the same thing over here, so I'm control copying here, pressing F to flip it. Ooh, actually I don't want to do that, do I? Yeah, F to flip and then R to rotate twice. There we go, just so it's symmetrical. It's also possible to simply control copy and control paste. And that would work as well. It'll just be asymmetrical, which we don't want. Ooh. And control Y is to redo. There you go. So you see our counter is going up. It's only going to be going up half the time because we have not trashed the other outputs. We could put trashes there if we wanted to, but it's not really necessary. You don't get detracted points from putting wrong items in, which I'm grateful for. Now, while those shapes are making their way into the vortex here, why don't we start... would you look at that? I've just noticed, and some of you probably already have picked up on this, that other shape is actually what we're after in one of our side tasks here. So that's a happy little coincidence. It wasn't the case for the red ones, but I'm grateful it is for the blue. That's going to finish really quickly. Perfect. And might go ahead and start on this one before we go altering the blue. Just looking a bit crowded. We could fit it in and spaghetti our way around, but we did promise the devs that we wouldn't do that. And it's already looking a little bit like that. let's not do it. We can avoid it. And we'll start over here instead. Okay, first things first. What does one of these cut look like? Cool. Try again. Oh, here's another useful tip. If you hover over something and press C, it's going to act like a dropper. So it's just going to pick whatever... Oh, should I say picker, not dropper? I was thinking like the paint dropper that picks whatever color that you hover over. Anyway, so if you press C, it's going to give you whatever tool is already on the ground under your cursor. That can be very useful when you want to build stuff quickly. Would recommend using that. Okay, so I think we've discovered already that this is not the shape we want. So let's try that again, except we're going to rotate it again. Now, what does that look like? And what does this look like? Is that right? Yeah, that looks right. That doesn't look like we need it. So let's go ahead. So we obviously want to make full use of the belts here. And hey, we might as well just throw everything in. So that should be that taken care of. Now we'll jump over to the blue one. Now, is any of that useful at the moment? No. What about these? Also no. Pardon me. So, as we can see here, at some point we do have the shape that we want. It's really just a matter of not cutting that last bit here. So if we simply remove these last cutters, then half, quote unquote, of these shapes are going to be the right one. So if we simply connect them up to the vortex, that should solve that eventually. Now, unfortunately, we're getting rid of all of our grey, so we can go ahead and use something else to get this one to work. What we could do, maybe an easy solution for this, well, first of all, let me just think. We do want some space over here, so why don't we just combine these two? And then combine those two. And some of you may be thinking, but you can use the second level, and yeah, you're right, but I don't want to just yet. These belts should fill up now, and we can basically just copy the same thing. I'm going to flip it and throw it over here. Oop, oop, there we go. Copy that, chuck that over. But we don't want to be rotating it as many times, because otherwise we'll just get exactly the same shape. So let's just go ahead. You can see at the end here, this is a cool little feature of this game. You don't have to wait for it to go through the process to figure out what's going to come out on the other side. The end of the belts will show you wherever that may be. So if the end is here, it's going to show you the end result here. And if the end is all the way down there, that's where it's going to be. Now, we're still creating, oh no, we're not quite creating the same shape, but it's still not what we want. So we're saving one grey now, but that's not what we want. We want a grey and a blue. So let's take out one more of these rotators, and hopefully, yep, there we have it. Now, if I rotate the camera around, is that going to be the right way around? Yes, it is. So we've got the grey on the bottom and the blue on the top. And as I've said already, the reason why this is flashing is because there's going to be two different inputs here. As you can see, that one's the grey, that one's the blue, except there's still backed up from when we had those extra rotators, and so this is going to take a little while to catch up to what it says we're going to be producing. But that'll start soon enough, so we can leave that and let it run. We'll almost finish that shape there that we started a little while ago. You see there's no reason that we had to upscale here. We will be doing that in the future for different ones, but for now just the one line is more than enough while we work on our side tasks. So we've got this one complete now, which is over here. No, it's not. That's the milestone. It's over here. There we go. Let's get that right. Unlock. Got one more research point. Building our way towards our swapper. Brilliant. Okay. We've just finished that one. That's underway. Now we're looking at this. Now that looks very similar to something else we've just completed, doesn't it? Now, what are we not going to need? And where is what we've just created? That design has given us what we needed for the blues. So if I copy that and come over here to a spare segment and paste it again, rotate using R, that looks right. We'll try that. Now, what is that going to give us? Half the time it's going to give us one red square, and the other half, if I rotate this, let me think. That doesn't look quite right, does it? So the red and the grey square triangle are in the opposite positions. So that's not actually going to create the right shape, unfortunately. So how do we fix this? If we add in 2 more rotators, it's going to give us 2 greys and 2 again. It's not going to work either. What if we had none? Oop. What would that look like? Nope. So we'll undo that. And we'll add another set. Oop. There we go. That looks right, doesn't it? In this, as long as we rotate it right, we can match it up here. Sorry, when I say rotate it right, I mean just so we can visually confirm it doesn't. Again, it doesn't matter how it's rotated and put into the vortex, as long as it's the right shape. So for those who are just familiar with the quarter style of Shapes gameplay, this probably looks redundant because 4 of those will just rotate it back in the same position, but for the hexagonals this is not the case. That's 4/6 rotated because of the hexagonal pieces here. There we go, beautiful, that's what I want to see, the little tick here. And that's going to slowly work on that for us. Now that we've got that ticking away, we can come back to our main objectives. Let's have a look. Oop. Nope, still not 12 yet. Okay. That's our next shape that we want. Now this looks a little bit trickier, doesn't it? Because we only have access to the cutter at the moment, and the cutter cuts our shapes in half. But that shape only has 2/6 missing. So what does that mean we'll have to do? We're going to have to cut it in half and then quote unquote stack a red triangle onto the right segment of that half shape here. And then that's going to drop down and just sit flat and flush against the rest of the shape. So that's how that stacker works. Why don't we get cracking? Before we go altering this though, let's just have a quick look. Are we going to need this shape again in the near future? No, it doesn't quite look like it there. What about in these other tasks here? No, there's nothing super apparent. It's coming up, although those look similar. In any case, so I feel fairly safe to adjust this. Now, let's see. If we rotate it like so, I would definitely recommend doing this as well when you're playing through the game. Rotating it in the same orientation. Ooh. As the milestone picture, just so you can wrap your head around it a bit easier. So we've got most of that shape complete already here on this line, and we're simply wanting to add that red triangle, which we conveniently already have attached to these stackers, but just up in that far left quadrant rather than on top of the red. As you can see, it's happening here. So what does that mean? How many rotations do we need to do? So it's currently on top of the red. So 1, 2, if I stop it for a sec, there we go. 1, 2, 3. So this triangle piece is where we want the red to land, and that's 3 rotations. Let's get that going again, not that that matters at the moment. And we're going to come back to our original orientation and have a quick think. Okay, so I usually like to do them rotating as close to the factory as possible. So they're all in the right orientation now, but we want to be doing it 3 times. So we'll come out 1, and then 1, 2, 3, and the same thing here. And we're doubling that up because these rotators are only half as efficient as one belt. So we'll throw these on. And then throw them back together. And here's a neat little trick. Any excess that we have, we can just send. Just send into the trash. But why bother doing that when you can just make a trash right here and throw that in there. Now, why did I do that? That might be a bit confusing for some of you, which is totally understandable. And just to reiterate, we have more than one full belt on this line, but which actually means to put this in the wrong position. We want this trash up here. Still not working for me. The game will only let you go in so many different ways when a belt is adjacent to other buildings, such as the rotator. So we'll go ahead and pull it out one. And just fix it like that. That's still not going to work well. One sec. Here's an easier solution. Just going to go ahead and trash that one and this one. So these are no longer producing 3/4 full belts. They'll just be producing half full belts, which means we can simply get rid of that entirely because we're only filling half the belt now, and then they can combine together. Don't need that trash, and they can come straight out and up. Now importantly, we need to put that trash here so it keeps going. And yeah, we're just dumping some of our items, but there's no limit to these shapes that are being mined here. This looks pretty cool too, by the way. Check that out. Straight up from the depths of this island here. Amazing. In any case, no limit, which means I don't feel bad about trashing this. I'm just going to go ahead and use 2 half belts, combine it, 1 full belt. And then that, as you guys can see, is now producing the right shape that we're after. That drops down onto that empty little triangle, and we're producing this. There we have it. And I was using one other shortcut, guys. I didn't talk about it before, but it's V, and that hides the top layer. So that's great when you're working on an individual layer and you don't want the one above it obscuring your view. It'll be very handy. Okay, so that's going along nicely. I'm happy with that. Getting a full belt of output there, fantastic. We're going to pick up some of our pin tasks. Would you look at that? We've already completed this third one, which is an option in this game. You can pre-fill these things. They won't give you the rewards until you've unlocked the previous ones, but once you do, you can just boom 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 unlock multiple at a time. That's one of the benefits of not trashing anything that you're not currently using and just sending it into the vortex anyway. There's a small chance that that will be used at a later time. We'll go ahead and unlock this. Unlock that, and would you look at that, the same thing has happened on this number 2 task line here. Perfect. So how many research points does that give us? Enough. 12 for the swapper. Beautiful. That's what we want. Okay. So most of this is now redundant because we've finished those lines. Let's come up and check this one here. Now, this is important to note. This last line here is now a combination of these that we're producing at the moment and these 2 blue triangles that we produced previously. So let's go ahead and have a look at our current production. So we have 1 full line of these, and we'll leave these to run because we still need them here. And what else do we have? Looks like 2 full lines, but half of it is a different shape. So 1 full line of the blue, and this is something else entirely. Okay, so here's where we will want to trash this different shape here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 7's the key for the trash. We'll trash all that, and now both of these lines should only be producing that shape that we'll need in just a moment. And we're producing 1 full line of that. So we could even combine it. We'll just clean this up a little bit too. Combine both the lines and actually not send them in the vortex. Instead, we'll send them this way. Another beautiful feature about this game is that you can change the direction of the belts. Just like that. You don't have to do anything else, you just override it. Very cool. Okay. So I've got a little 2 blue triangles here. And that's the current orientation of this shape. How is that going to match with the blue triangles? Not quite. As you can see, this is here. And that's there. So if we rotate that, that's going to be going the wrong way. What about this one? There we go, that's better. So I'd rather rotate this shape just the once rather than have to rotate this shape 5 times to get it in the right orientation. Like so. I don't want to do that. You know what, having said that, we definitely have more room up this end. So it's really no skin off my back if we do rotate this one instead. And we see we have it in the right orientation to slot straight in to that one here. And I've just moved this back off camera 1 tile to the right So we have a little bit more room for ourselves. Can recombine that now. And we'll throw this one on top. Let's get ourselves another stacker. Copy and paste this. Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and move this back up here and then put the stackers here. So it doesn't look so messy. So this is what it looks like so far. We've just copy and pasted that, flipped it, using the F key, and placed it down here. So now that's ready to go. We combine all of those outputs up and through here. It's ready to jump into the vortex as well. So it doesn't matter when the shape is, no, not that one. The shape is flat, which one goes on top. But we'll be throwing this blue one on top. Just because. And I won't connect it just yet. But that's going to be coming here. And I'll press V to get rid of the upper level for now. And connect that in here. And all of those shapes, we'll just cut that off when we're done here. And all those shapes are going to go straight into this stacker here. And then that stacker is going to send them flying into the vortex. Now, while we're waiting for that to complete, we can have a quick look at this next line here and see what we can accomplish. Now, do we have these shapes anymore? No, not at the moment, but I think we could easily. Was it just the one rotation? I'm just looking over here now. Nope. That's not it. Was there any rotation? There we go. So half of those look right now. Oh, where's my pin task? Where's that gone? Oh no, it's there. I'm just blind. Okay. So removing this and just checking which lane gives what. And we're going to pause this for a second. We'll come back over to our main line here. We're going to break that because that's just been completed. Yeah, we're done that. We don't need that anymore. And instead, we're going to divert the line to this way. And that should be producing, if I rotate it around, like so, that should be producing that shape for us now. I'll press V to can reveal that upper level again. You can see they just slot in perfectly so. Brilliant. And that's going to take ourselves a little while. We should probably upscale that one. But for now we can work on this other pin task. So coming back over here, we're going to be removing the grey. And we'll go ahead and belt up the red here. And we're going to go ahead and do the same with the blue segments that we're going to need here. Oop. So none of that is helpful, but now some of that is. So that's the belt we want here. Get rid of that. And this is the belt we want here. We might as well let that keep going into the vortex. Although we could trash it. we want to be combining these two. We could either do that with a stacker, but I might show you guys the swapper instead, as long as that is going to work. Alrighty, so I've just tested it and it should work, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm just simply going to get this belt using the scroll wheel here to zoom out, and then E up to the second level, and Q, oh, probably not there, go back a bit, Q to jump back down to the first. Now if we were using a stacker we wouldn't need to jump down again, but I want to show you guys the swapper here. So the swapper is under the cutting tool, so that's the cut as we were using it earlier, and then if you press tab we've got the swap. So that's going to swap the two west halves of the shape. Let's just do an example here. Say this one goes in here and that in there. Bang! We instantly get the shape that we want. How easy is that? However, this has the same efficiency as a cutter, so we're going to need 4 of these. And this is a bit different to what we've been doing before, because before we've only needed the one belt and we're chopping it up. This time we have 2 separate belts of input, and that's going to require a little bit of extra work. So another helpful shortcut here, I see that this little shape here must have been from before we switched this over and around. We can simply highlight the selected belt, or just click on the belt and press I, and it's going to clear the contents. It's going to start again. That doesn't really matter, but just for the sake of clarity, I've just deleted that. Anyway, so we want 4 of these boys, so press C to copy that, and this red one can simply go down the line and make sure it's on the same side of the swappers every time. And what we can do, rather than coming down here, I'll go upper level with E, press C to copy, down here and straight in, go back up, and grab my belt tool again, go out and press Q to go down, and the same here. Now this one upper line here is going to feed all 4 of these swappers for us. Now again, in this particular instance, a stacker probably would have been more efficient because you wouldn't have to go back down and things like that. But this is just another way to solve the same problem. There we go. Words. And we see that should be the correct one here. Perfect. Okay, well, I might stop this video here. This has already gone on significantly longer than my first, and we have technically completed the second milestone. We're just waiting for it to count up here, and so I'll leave it there, and then in the next run, the next video should I say, if there is one, we'll be jumping into milestone 3 and probably doing a few more tasks here. Anyway guys, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. Bye for now. Have a blessed week. See ya.